omwana wa kwendo mkhana imoni dala nombonyala kunanga KK
Ingo FM ininginingi yemuitala.
A man's death has condemned them to live a rivalry because of their father. He killed my brother. He stayed with his land and with his wife. Or did you forget how my brother Tulio Irazabal died?
I dare you to kiss me again.
What we feel is too strong to just let it go.
Your wife is cheating on you. Shut up! Who is your lover?
Tell me why last night you lied to your boyfriend, Amparo. Explain to me what you were doing outside our house, kissing the veterinarian.
I have fallen in love with another man.
3 love affairs that will be challenged. The 3 will manage to get ahead. Their magnificence, their passion and strength. Las Bandidas.
In a world filled with uncertainty, there is one thing we can always count on: the power of compassion and generosity. Every day, families in Kenya face unimaginable challenges and hardships. They struggle to put food on the table, provide shelter for their loved ones, and access basic health care. But today, you have the power to make a difference. By just contributing 1 shilling and 50 cents from your airtime, your generosity can provide access to sanitary pads, nutritious food, clean water, education, and life-saving medical care to those who need it most. To support this cause, please tune in to your favorite radio station under the KBC umbrella for step-by-step instructions on how to subscribe. KBC Helping Hands. Together, we can make a difference and bring hope to those in need.
This holiday season on KBC Channel 1, we bring you a host of entertainment content. Family.
Hi, family. Let's build a great house.
Drama.
Did you marry me for love or this money? You hesitated.
Action. Adventure. Fantasy movies.
Your mom knows a king? I've always wanted to be a princess.
Laughter. Melodious carols. Music by the Vienna Philharmonic Orchestra.
I have an idea.
It's really spicy.
And many more. Watch KBC Channel 1 this December for your best holiday entertainment.
Have a blessed festive season.
Good evening, welcome to Prime Edition. I am Cynthia Nyamai and it's so good to be back. Now we want to start this bulletin by wishing our President William Ruto a happy birthday from me and the rest of KBC. And also in studio we will be having the PS for tourism. And I do want to find out what incentives are there to increase domestic tourism. And so all the questions will be about you. You do not want to miss that. And we have also all the sporting action for you coming up shortly after that interview. So let's first have the highlights and start the bulletin. Drama as anti-graft. Detectives storm Vihiga County Assembly offices, arresting several officials.
Wakati alipofungua akaona watoto wamechinjwa.
Collateral damage. A father on the run after allegedly killing 2 sons shortly after picking them from his estranged wife. And on our end here feature, the gains and misses in the war on graft in 2023. Welcome back. Our sign interpreter is Lucy Maura. We would love to hear from you. You can send us your comments on KBC Channel 1 on our Instagram page, Facebook, and also on Instagram. And if you'd like to send me a message, use Cynthia Nyamai on all the social media platforms, including TikTok. Now, the last batch of Kenya Defence Forces officers serving under the East African Community Regional Force deployed to the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo, the DRC, has returned to the country, marking the end of the one-year-long mission. The troops were received at the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport, JKIA, by the Chief of Defence Forces, General Francis Ogola, after leaving Goma on Thursday morning.
Thursday morning, Goma International Airport. The last contingent of the Kenya Defence Forces officers serving under the East African Community Regional Force boarded this aircraft. A 1 hour and 30 minutes journey bringing them back home after 1 year of service in the troubled east of Congo. At hand to receive them, their boss, Chief of Defence Forces General Francis Ogola.
The assignment you undertook as East African Regional Force is a testament to the collaborative spirit and shared responsibility within the East African community, and we as Kenya remain ready to embark on any other mission.
With the DRC government having failed to renew the aircraft mandate after December 8th, the Kenya Defence Forces soldiers were returning home shoulders high after reclaiming Goma from the hands of M23 rebels and having ensured the retreat of rebels to cantonment areas, according to the primary mandate of the aircraft deployment.
The aircraft deployment enabled substantial withdrawal by M23 to locations as earlier designated, thus allowing aircraft's posture in the joint operation area. This deployment registered varying successes in the joint operation area. Critical was the protection of civilians, which was achieved through facilitation and enforcement of M23 and FRDC ceasefire, and further dominating zones threatened by armed groups. Albeit fragile, the ceasefire lasted from 7th March to 6th October this year, when it was breached following resumption of hostilities between M23 and FARDC.
Kenyan troops were the first to be deployed and managed to deal with the instability in Goma, the capital of North Kivu. Burundi, Uganda and South Sudan joined Kenya a month later, with Burundi manning the Masisi area, Uganda manning the Bunangana area, while Kenya was in charge of Kibumba and Rumagambo alongside South Sudan.
Handing over of aircraft theater of operation to South African region of force was not planned. That was not discussed between the East African community and the SADC. But it was our desire, and I have not talked about this once. I talked about it many times because normally in military operations, there's that phase that is referred to as relief operations.
Aircraft exits at a time the country is conducting its general election, with President Felix Tshisekedi seeking a second term in a crowded presidential contest attracting 19 candidates. Abdiaziz Hashim from Goma, DRC, Prime Edition.
President William Ruto has urged Kenyans to be patriotic and uphold the ideals of the country's forefathers. He said Kenyans should maintain a positive perspective of their country, irrespective of prevailing circumstances, saying challenges facing the nation are being addressed. The president made the remarks while hosting children from 52 children's homes at the Eldoret State Lodge in Uasin Gishu County ahead of the Christmas festivities. The president also marked his 57th birthday today, and we wish him a happy birthday.
Beautiful Christmas carols from children from 52 children's homes rented the air.
We are a rainbow. It's time for us to shine.
As they danced with joy at the Eldoret State Lodge in Uasin Gishu County ahead of the Christmas festivities. The children were guests to President William Ruto and First Lady Rachel Ruto. President Ruto was also marking his 57th birthday.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday to you.
The president, while addressing the little angels gathered at the lodge, emphasized the need to protect children in accordance with the law.
I am very confident that under the new laws, we will continuously look after our children so that there are no children out there in the streets, there are no children who are suffering, that all our children are looked after.
Nataka tu kuatia moyo sisi wote, nyinyi wote, kusema kwamba Mungu ako na mipango mizuri kuhusu maisha ya kila mtoto na kila mtu hapa. Na Mungu anapotujalia kwenda katika mwaka wa 2024, waacha mapenzi ya Mungu yatendeke katika maisha ya kila mmoja wetu.
The head of state used the opportunity to implore on Kenyans to remain patriotic and uphold the ideals of Kenya's freedom fighters, while at the same time assuring the country that the current challenges are surmountable.
People talk negatively about our country. It's completely unnecessary.
Enumerating Kenya's diplomatic and business standing in the world of nations, Ruto called on Kenyans to take pride in the nation.
Has said Kenya's economy is the 29th fastest growing economy in the world. This is our country. We must love this country enough to count our blessings.
Seraphi Nairobi for Prime Edition.
Police in Muranga are pursuing a man suspected to have murdered his two sons, both minors, after picking them from his estranged wife. James Gitau allegedly picked up his two sons, aged 5 and 2, claiming he wanted to spend the night with them before brutally murdering them on Tuesday night. The suspect, who hails from Kiambu village, is still at large.
A dark cloud has engulfed Kiawambeu village, Muranga County. Two young children murdered by their own father. James Gitau A secondary school teacher separated from his wife 6 months ago due to domestic wrangles.
Ni kawaida huwa anaenda kwao, na kitao huwa anaenda anamlete, wanakaa kidogo, anaenda anamlete, anakaa, lakini kwa muda huu amekaa kwa muda.
Residents say before he committed the heinous act, Gitau called his estranged wife through his mother's mobile phone for over 10 minutes. He then allegedly proceeded to his mother's house where they were sleeping, woke them up and took them to his one-roomed house where he murdered them in cold blood.
Huyo baba watoto akamwita, akasikia hatiki, akaenda kumtafuta hapa kwa nyumba kule ile inajengwa, akamkosa, akaja akafungua. Wakati alipofungua akaona watoto amechinjwa, wamesachinjwa.
Police in Murang'a are pursuing leads and have laid a dragnet for the suspect. Area residents have been asked to engage the clergy, elders or administrators whenever they encounter marital disputes instead of reverting to committing such heinous crimes because of bottled anger. Tilio Marco for Prime Edition.
Well, we do have a statement from opposition leader Raila Odinga. That and more coming up shortly after our fast break.
Unangoja nini? Namna ya kucheza Lucky Game sasa imerahisishwa. Dial *570# na 31st of December magari haya mawili na mtangaza mshindi. Ni rahisi. *570#.
Kwenye ulimwengu wa sasa, taaluma za mikono zina umaarufu mwingi. Jiunge na Sensei Institute of Technology tukupe ujuzi na uzoefu wa kushughulikia ulimwengu. Tunafunza taaluma kama plant operator, plant mechanics, kuendesha gari na trailer, kuweka CCTV na alarm, kuweka solar, kuweka stima, motorcycle, motor vehicle mechanics na electronics, teknolojia ujenzi wa mijengo, ujenzi wa barabara na mabwawa, hospitality na taaluma nyinginezo. Kujiunga nasi, beba kitambulisho chako na utembelee tawi letu lolote. Sensei College. My skills, my future.
A man's death has condemned them to live a rivalry because of their father. He killed my brother. He stayed with his land and with his wife. Or did you forget how my brother Tulio Irazabal died?
I dare you to kiss me again.
What we feel is too strong to just let it go.
Your wife is cheating on you. Shut up! Who is your lover?
Tell me why last night you lied to your boyfriend, Amparo.
Explain to me what you were doing outside our house, kissing the veterinarian.
I have fallen in love with another man.
3 love affairs that will be challenged. The 3 will manage to get ahead. Their magnificence, their passion and strength. Las Bandidas.
Shamra shamra za Krismasi zikipiga hodi, nasi hapa Shoro FM hatuachwi nyuma. Stesheni yako ipendayo imekuandalia tafrija ya hali ya juu. Ukipenda Shoro Mogiri Night itakayofanyika Jamii Executive Gardens Mwea tarehe 22 Disemba. Kajay Salim, Salim Young, na wasanii wengine watakuwa live on stage. Jiunge nasi tukiadhimisha miaka 23 ya utangazaji bora na utangamani na watangazaji wa Shoro FM wakikuletea vipindi live kutoka Mwea. Vinywaji na vyakula ni kwa wingi. Sherehe itapigwa hadi che. Usikose.
Welcome back. Now, the Matatu Owners Association has hailed the government's renewed move to crack down on Matatu's flouting traffic rules during the festive season. Association Chairman Albert Karakata has therefore called on operators to adhere to road safety guidelines issued by the Ministry of Transport to avert road carnage. The National Police Service has already recalled officers who were on leave to man traffic flow and ensure the security of Kenyans during the festives.
Karakacha says the association will support measures announced by the National Police Service to impound matatus flouting traffic regulations and charge the operators in court. He also called on the operators to exercise caution on the roads and ensure vehicles plying different routes have passed the roadworthiness test.
We want to urge our membership, wherever they are, to make sure that our driver adhere to the rules of law in terms of road safety, in terms of making sure that our passengers reach safely wherever they are going.
While hailing the government for the renewed efforts to restore sanity on the road, Karakacha says the association is also keen on cushioning Kenyans from fare hikes characteristic of the festive season owing to the hard economic times.
Mr. William Ruto, his deputy, and the entire government, because we are working very closely with them on the issue of road safety and making sure that Kenyans are traveling safely wherever they are going. We've urged our members to be very cautious when they are charging the fare. We will be there to make sure that passengers are not being harassed.
On Wednesday, the Inspector General of Police, Japheth Koome, announced the recalling of police officers on leave to resume duty immediately to keep the country safe and ensure uninterrupted traffic flow during the festive season. Doreen Arange for Prime Edition.
Real Estate Stakeholders Association and land selling agents have opposed the planning bill by the Kiambu County Assembly Planning Committee, claiming that the proposed legislation creates zones for development and agricultural activities. The group claims that the proposals are unrealistic as Kiambu County continues to play host to people who work in Nairobi but have residence in the county.
The spatial planning bill is likely to introduce a major shift in how land is subdivided and developed in Kiambu County. Real Estate Stakeholders Association and land selling agents have, however, opposed the move, terming it a plot to drive them out of business.
The large tea bushes in Limuru are being converted into concrete jungles. If you go the other side of Tinganga, you know, those coffee farms, they are being turned into concrete jungles. So there is need to have a special plan. And not only that, also to have an effective developmental control regime.
Because when you talk of agriculture, agriculture cannot be done in a plot of 50 by 100. Majority of the plots of the land in Kiambu, majority of the people, because the population is high than the land. So you cannot make Kiambu an agricultural area just because some few people have got 5 acres and 10 acres.
According to the group, creation of zones will hinder expansion plans by both the Nairobi and Kiambu counties, with Nairobi's residential population already bursting.
We kindly request the government to look at the processes from map, from numbering, from areas allocation, so that the process of title can be easier.
They have, however, implored on Kenyans to remain vigilant, particularly when buying land, warning that there were many fraudsters on the prowl.
It is good to know the source of the land so that you may not lose your money, because there are some people who have the titles but the land does not belong to them.
Kasichuna Masha, Prime Edition.
At least 180 households recently affected by the floods in Loglol, Lesmis and Marsabit Town in Marsabit County received early Christmas in the form of food courtesy of the National Council of Churches of Kenya and CCK Upper Eastern Region. Still in the spirit of Christmas, residents of Kakich village in Belgut will cross over the new year in houses that are new courtesy of their Kericho County National Government Affirmative Action Fund.
Speaking during the food distribution exercise at Loglogo, Bishop Daniel Kampicha from the Anglican Church of Kenya, Diocese of Marsabit, appealed to Kenyans to extend a helping hand to the needy and less fortunate in the society, especially during this festive season.
Tuzingatie amani, tuzingatie ujirani mwema, tuzingatie upendo na tuishi pamoja kama jamii moja, na tukifanya hivyo Mungu ataendelea kutubariki, ataendelea kutuhifadhi.
Christmas also came early for a needy woman, Caroline Misik, a resident of Kaptongeno village in Belgut, Kericho County, after she was officially handed over a house built by National Government Affirmative Action Fund, spearheaded by the area women representative.
We have so many vulnerable people in our societies, and this is especially women, widows, single mothers, and even those who are married. Some of them, their husbands have left them.
Meanwhile, our family in Kakamega is engulfed in grief after their kin allegedly committed suicide at a police station in Lugari constituency.
Hiyo jambo lilitushtua sana. Tukashangaa, tukabikwa na butwa. Kwani mtu akijinyonga? Si wenye familia ndio wanachukua huyo mtu waende waone vile mahali penye alijinyongea, wafanye kitu yao, kama ni mila yao wafanye.
Elsewhere, people displaced by terrorism in Salama, Lamu County have received aid from the African Inland Church to sustain them as they rebuild their lives.
Hali ya maisha yaweza kupitia changamoto mingi kwa sababu hiyo eneo iliweza kupata madhara karibu baada ya kila mwezi. So ile hofu ilizidi kutanda ambapo wengine wao ilibidi mpaka waanze kuhama katika miji yao.
Finally, Nakuru Tuk-Tuk Association is keen on restoring sanity in transport in the city county.
Is going to start and spearhead to empower, to put order, to create security, to put sanity and representation of Tuk-Tuk fraternity within Nakuru municipality.
The association elected its officials on Wednesday, with a new expected to spearhead reforms that will see the restoration of order in the tuk-tuk transport business.
Serikali ya county, serikali ya kitaifa haujakuwa mzuri sana. Ndio tunajaribu vile hii idara yetu ya tuk-tuk itaweza kusimama.
Jacqueline Masharia for Prime Edition.
The Finance Bill 2023 is one of the key pieces of legislation passed by the National Assembly and is entered into law this year. The bill introduced the new taxation, including the contested housing levy and an increase in the fuel levy. The Appropriation Bill 2023 and two supplementary appropriation bills were also considered and passed to provide funding for the government or reallocate funds to emergency efforts following a drought and flooding incidences experienced. Here is Kamche Menza with more.
With Parliament having recently concluded on its second session proceeding on a long recess, a total of 18 bills had been processed at the National Assembly and 5 bills enacted into law at the Senate, majorly crucial legislations relating to climate change, reforms in the health sector and government financing of priority projects. 2023 marking the year that the Kenya Kwanza government drafted, published and assented into law its first finance bill that laid out the plan of how the government would finance its budget. A number of contentious clauses on the bill, such as the housing levy and an increase in the value-added tax on fuel to 16% from 8%, sharply dividing the House.
Order. Order. Take your seats. Take your seats. The nays have claimed a division, and I'm satisfied that they have enough numbers to have a division.
As debates went on as late as 1 a.m.
Bring me a teller on either side to conduct the voting. Ring the division bell.
The bill paved through and assented into law. Appropriations Bill 2023, which is also the first under the Kenya Kwanza government, was also passed. It sought to align Kenya Kwanza's manifesto and promises through assignment of actual resources to meet various services and projects.
Honorable Speaker, the essence of this kind of supplementary.
2 supplemented appropriation bills were also passed in June and November, respectively, to provide funding for the government or reallocate funds to emergency efforts due to the extreme drought and flooding incidents that were experienced within the year. Matters relating to climate change also became a priority agenda for legislature, leading to the National Assembly approving the Climate Change Amendment Bill 2023, providing the regulation of carbon markets. It also created and enhanced the mandate of several institutions responsible for the regulation of the carbon markets. It will be remembered that the House also passed the National Government Constituency Development Fund 2023, expanding the mandate of the fund to cater for projects such as climate mitigation, placing Kenya legislators at the center of climate change mitigation efforts. A maximum of 5% of the funds allocated per constituency to climate change mitigation activities, including afforestation, reforestation, grassroots sensitization, and tree seedling production. 4 health bills were also passed and assented into law towards the implementation of the universal health coverage. The Digital Health Bill 2023, which establishes a comprehensive integrated digital health information system. The Social Health Insurance Bill 2023, which established a legislative framework to promote the implementation of UHC, the Facilities Improvement Financing Bill 2023, and the Primary Healthcare Bill 2023. At the Senate, county governments will this year share among themselves 395 billion shillings after the House increased the shareable revenue to 385 from 370 billion in the County Allocation of Revenue Bill 2023. Senate also conducted the Senate Mashinani one-week sitting in Turkana County to closely interact with the locals. In the second session, senators also ruled over 2 impeachment motions, one against Siaya Deputy Governor William Odrol and Meru Governor Kawira Mwangaza. 96 bills at the National Assembly are at various stages of consideration. At the Senate, 59 have been considered, with the debate on 8 bills concluded and 31 bills pending at various stages in the House, including the Equalization Fund Bill and County Government Additional Allocation Bill 2023, which proposes to give counties additional 56 billion shillings. Parliament also reviewed its standing orders to allow cabinet secretaries appear before the House to respond to matters of national interest raised by members. Kamche Menza for the Spotlight 2023.
Opposition Chief Raila Odinga has attributed minimal development at the county level to lack of adequate funding and late disbursement of the shareable revenue to the developed units. Odinga's remarks come shortly after a report by the Controller of Budget, which revealed that some counties did not spend a penny on development and instead channeled the funds to recurrent expenditure for the period under review. Wycliffe Okech with the details.
Odinga and his Azimio Brigade Thursday pitched tent in Siaya County, launching various development projects by the county government before addressing gatherings in different locations. Odinga and his allies accused the Kenya Kwanza administration of starving devolved units of the shareable revenue, a constitutional requirement, attributing it to minimal development at the county level.
We have said that Kenya actually deserves better. Corruption has reached very high levels here in the country. You see what has been happening. The issue of children not getting their examination results. The examination is a mess, completely. Infrastructure is a mess. The oil bill, a mess. You can go on and on and on.
The Controller of Budget recently released a report that revealed of some counties which had not spent much on development, with the Azimio Brigade attributing the dismal expenditure on development to delayed disbursement of the shareable revenue to the counties.
This is the people's money, and therefore your work is disperse it to our counties so that they can undertake development projects.
The Constitution does not foresee a situation where the President is withholding resources. The resources is supposed to flow naturally as has been budgeted by National Assembly. And that is the reason why I want to condemn this practice where our counties are being denied resources in time.
If you seal all the loopholes of corruption, then there will be a lot of money.
Odinga has maintained his stance that the government has failed to create jobs for the youth, while dismissing Parliament as an appendage of the executive.
The responsibility of the government is to create jobs in the country, not to search for jobs outside. Because in those other countries, those governments are also looking for jobs for their own people. So it is the responsibility of the government of the day to create jobs within its jurisdiction.
The opposition coalition also wants the government to work on modalities to further bring down the cost of living and tame corruption. For Prime Edition, I am Wycliffe Okech.
Unangoja nini? Namna ya kucheza Lucky Game sasa imerahisishwa. Dial *570# na 31st of December magari haya mawili na mtangaza mshindi. Ni rahisi. *570#.
Tukakuja tukaambia watu wetu pesa yenye inatakikana hiyo 60,000. Tumejaribu kutafuta, tukiambia watu wa nyumbani washughuliki, tukiambia badada zangu wengine washughuliki, tunajaribu kuambia tauzeni shapa tupige hizo picha, hakuna mtu anashughulika. Kila mtu ametuachilia na dadangu, pevu kila tuto nazong'ananga nazo hapa kukunywa. Hakuna mtu anataka kujua maisha yangu itakuwaje kesho, watataka kujua watoto wangu watasurvive aje. Nimeshi kutapika damu hapa tukiwaambia. Hakuna mtu anastuka. Hakuna mtu anakujenga kutuona hapa. Mimi na dadangu ndo tunaishi hapa peke yetu. Tuking'ang'ana, dadangu ana kazi, ana mtu anategemea. Kenye tunapata msaada kidogo ndo tutakula.
Totally sure. You still have enough time to back out and cancel your wedding. Is that why you're here now?
I have a strong feeling that the only thing you want is for me to leave this house.
Oh no.
A woman is alive and kicking, and she messed up my brother's life so that she could destroy him.
Because Lucia is the apple of my dad's eye. And I swear to you, after everything that's gonna happen tonight, he'll get even with everybody.
I'll ask you again, Rodrigo. Do you accept Lucia as your lawful wife? And promise to be faithful for as long as you both shall live?
Welcome back. Now, the ghost of corruption has continued to haunt governments and institutions tasked with eliminating the vice despite spirited efforts to slay it. President William Ruto, in his first year in office, vowed to deal ruthlessly with graft, while independent institutions such as the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission continued to face hurdles in their quest to net the so-called big fish perceived to be the masterminds of profiteers of graft. As the curtain falls on the year 2023, our reporter Abdiziz Hashim examines the challenges and strides in the war against graft, EACC wins and perspectives from legit pundits as the country struggles to deal with the phantom of graft.
People in our judicial system who are facilitating corruption by working with the corrupt. That is why certain cases go to certain judges, because they are part of the corruption enterprise and the corruption industry in Kenya. And I want to tell you, all these collaborators, we will deal with them firmly and decisively.
President William Ruto set the stage at the start of the year when he vowed to deal firmly with graft. Independent institutions tasked with fighting graft, perhaps taking cue from him, embarked on tracking those looting from public coffers. In a bid to end graft within the public service, the head of public service and the chief of staff, Felix Koskei, embarked on a series of meetings with high-ranking government officials, managing directors, and CEO of state corporation and government agencies. He will also meet security chiefs to warn them against harboring or condoning security officers perpetuating graft.
We don't want to see again this bribery along the roadblocks, nor these policemen in pikipikis.
Inafika wakati tunasema enough, na mumesikia,
enough is enough.
To the main road to Nairobi, 3 police roadblocks. Why? Do we need them? Those are toll stations, they are not roadblocks.
It is not lost that shortly after the anti-graft body nabbed traffic police officers along the busy Nakuru-Naivasha highway. The officers were running what appeared to be a well-coordinated graft syndicate, demanding bribes from motorists mainly within the public transport sector. As the EACC dealt with the rogue officers, the government enhanced its system to increase revenue collection following the launch of a uniform pay bill number for all government services. This birthed a central pay point, with all government services being paid through pay bill number 22222. While the executive was implementing changes in various institutions, the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission trained its guns on state officers, sitting and former governors linked to graft. Turkana Governor Jeremiah Lumurukai was the first governor on the anti-grafts radar this year. He faced arrest for allegedly providing and possessing a fake degree from Kenya Methodist University. The county boss moved to court unsuccessfully to block his arrest.
Even those institutions that have been harassing governors, wakujenge polepo, but I'm not ready to be harassed. Mimi nikikosea, I will not be seeking for hideouts. Ati governor anafichana kwa miti, ati kwa sababu kuna watu wanakuja kushika yeye. Mimi utanishika kama nakaa kwa kiti.
The matter is still active in court. Former Kakamega Governor Wycliffe Oparanya, alongside his 3 wives, were interrogated at the Integrity Center. Oparanya is accused of alleged procurement of fraud and conflict of interest in the award of tenders by the Kakamega County Government during his tenure. EACC secured court orders to freeze his assets worth 28.9 million Kenya shillings as the probe continues. EACC says 9 former and current governors have already been brought to court on various corruption charges. Some of the county leaders facing various charges include former governors Ferdinand Waititu, Mike Mbuvi Sonko, Evans Kidero, Zachary Okoth Obado, Sospita Ojamongo Deke, Jackson Mandago for the Finland Scholarship Saga, and Mwangi Wairia.
What they did was some of them ended up receiving monies from the suppliers, and that is against the law. Some of them is pure embezzlement of public funds, payments that have been made for goods not supplied, and those cases are actively before court.
The EACC's quarterly report, published in the Kenya Gazette on August 11th, revealed that the Commission had submitted files to the ODPP recommending the prosecution of sitting Kakamega Governor Fernandez Baraza and former Kitui Governor Charity Ngilu on corruption charges. EACC Chairperson Bishop David Oginde warned former and current senior government officials are using their influence to evade investigations. EACC has been handling at least 43 cases involving former office holders. The Commission's 3rd quarterly report paints a disturbing picture of the extent of graft permeated across all sectors if proved to be true in a court of law. Among those it wants to be investigated by the ODPP are former Treasury Cabinet Secretary Ukur Yatani, his former Treasury PS Julius Muya, the Controller of Budget Margaret Nyakango, alongside 6 others with at least 30 counts of graft-related crimes in the 6 billion shilling Telkom Kenya buyback saga. However, Nyakango has since secured court orders blocking her arrest. The report also indicates former Tourism Cabinet Secretary Najib Balala and 12 others are said to be charged with the irregular award of a tender for consultancy services for Ronald Ngala Utalii College construction without a budget. The Commission, which receives an average of over 9,000 cases of alleged corruption annually, says it has managed to recover 23.74 billion from 2018 to 2023. This year alone, the Commission has recovered 10 parcels of land worth 2.4 billion shillings belonging to Moi International Airport, and land forming part of the scenic Charlie Island in Kwale County, worth 1.2 billion shillings, fraudulently hived off, was also recovered. In December 2023, the Commission recovered property worth 410 million Kenya shillings grabbed by a private investor in Kisumu, among others. The legislative arm of the government has also had its fair share of run-ins with EACC and other independent institutions dealing with graft.
We also have MPs who have also embezzled constituency development funds. Their cases are also before court. There are also members of parliament we have of their cases on unethical conduct, issues of forged academic certificates.
EACC queried proposals by legislators to amend sections of the Conflict of Interest Bill to allow public servants to maintain a dual role in public service and private practice and engage in government dealings in the forms of tenders.
In the Conflict of Interest Bill that is going on before the House, there are attempts being made to water it down so that public officers can still trade with government.
EACC also questioned the sincerity of MPs in combating corruption, citing recent bills seeking to water down anti-corruption efforts, such as a bill by Mbeere North Member of Parliament Geoffrey Roko to amend Section 45(2) of the Anti-Corruption Act by eliminating two offences: the failure to follow procurement guidelines and engaging in a public project without prior planning. These provisions currently hold public officials are accountable for safeguarding public funds. Also of concern is Homa Bay Member of Parliament Peter Kaluma's Anti-Corruption and Economic Crimes Amendment Bill of 2023, proposing to scrap the provision for disqualification of persons convicted of corruption or economic crimes from being elected or appointed as public officers. The bill seeks to allow those convicted elected to office, which goes against the current act contained in the Anti-Corruption and Economic Crimes Act of 2003.
Since it's a private member's bill, we want to urge parliamentarians to ensure that passing that bill will be reversing the gains that we have made on leadership and integrity, because these people can stay outside until the cases are determined. If they are found to be innocent, then they can come back to work as the law provides. But there is no way you can abuse your office. You have been charged in court, and then you just want to remain again to continue working in that institution.
While some will argue the judiciary is the weakest link in the war on graft, owing to the prolonged cases and injunctions, those in the judiciary are of a different view.
Whether the judiciary is the weakest link in the war against corruption. You see, it's not. It's a question of perception. The judiciary believes in due process.
Legal minds argue that certain provisions in the Constitution, such as Chapter 6 of the Constitution on Leadership and Integrity, are ambiguous.
The legal quagmire that you talk about was brought about by the judiciary themselves. In 2012, when we had cases and they held that you cannot be barred from running for office, for example, because you've got pending criminal cases, that opened the door.
Then number two, what we hope is that because there are many cases touching on leadership and integrity that are before court, we have been waiting and urging, following up with those cases in court so that the judiciary, the judges may make an interpretation on issues of leadership and integrity, what are the thresholds, because by the time the judges are able to make those pronouncements, then EACC and IEBC probably now will have a better chance of barring these candidates.
Further, independent institutions come to a close, with the judiciary calling out the office of the ODPP for allegedly pursuing cases it has no intention to conclude. This followed the acquittal of former Finance Minister Henry Rotich and 9 others after a 5-year legal battle, with the judge faulting the ODPP for allegedly sabotaging its own case.
Officers from the Office of Director of Public Prosecution should be personally held liable for any compensatory damages arising out of suits filed by aggrieved persons against the government. As such, I hereby order that this ruling shall be placed before the Attorney General and the National Council of Administrative Justice with a view of sparking conversation on legal reforms on this issue.
As the curtain closes on 2023, there is reason to celebrate for the small victories. However, pundits say there is still much to be done to stamp out the deep-rooted culture. Abdiaziz Hashim for KBC Channel 1.
It's now time for business, and we start with good news where tea farmers will receive over 45,000 tons of fertilizer in a rollout of the second batch of subsidized fertilizer. Agriculture Cabinet Secretary Linturi has flagged off the consignment of 900,000 bags of fertilizer for Kenya Tea Development Agency, KTDA. Farmers that will be transported to the nearest tea buying centers for farmers to access.
While presiding over the flagging off of the second consignment at the port of Mombasa, CS Linturi noted that the government would avail an additional 7 million bags of fertilizer in 2024. This, he said, was aimed at prioritizing the value chain for the farmers' benefits as envisioned in the bottom-up economic transformation agenda.
This is as a result of the commitment that the government has made to continually support our farmers. And I want to thank the Kenya Tea Development Agency, KTDA, for really being there and making sure that whenever our tea farmers require fertilizer, then fertilizer is available.
Farmers will now have the option of 25 kilogram bags that have been introduced in order to ease the application process.
We have told the county governors to look or get warehouses where we will be able to take the fertilizer, and then they will be able to get the warehouses, and my ministry will be able to provide the technical experts with the gadgets and the software required for the dispensation of fertilizer through the e-voucher system.
Linturi also expressed that the government had committed to lowering the cost of inputs, noting that the price of fertilizer had fallen progressively from 6,500 shillings to 3,500 shillings to the present 2,500 shillings.
The fertilizer that the farmers are buying now is at 2,500. My continuous plea is for our farmers to double the application of fertilizer in their farms, because there's correlation, or there's direct proportionate relationship between the amount of fertilizer applied and the amount of yield.
The second consignment will be delivered directly to tea buying centers, eliminating the need for farmers to incur additional costs transporting fertilizer from factory stores to their farms. The first consignment, comprising 47,800 tons, equivalent to 956,000 bags, was received in October 2023 and has already been distributed to farmers. Ndutamo Kami for Prime Edition.
The government has employed various strategies aimed at easing the cost of living in the country. This includes stabilizing the Kenya shilling, distributing subsidized fertilizer, and investing in social safety net programs. Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi says the ongoing rains will further ease the prices of basic goods like maize and wheat flour, vegetables, and cooking oil. The Prime Cabinet Secretary spoke exclusively to Channel 1 News.
The last 2 years have been very tough for many Kenyans. The lingering effects of COVID-19 and the locust invasion have conspired to ensure the cost of goods and services remain stubbornly high. The situation has been compounded by sky-high fuel prices that have appreciated by more than 35% in the last 24 hours. This has caused a major public outcry, with the opposition seizing the crisis to stage public demonstrations. However, a combination of state interventions and the ongoing rains have relieved Kenyans from the pain of expensive commodities. As a result, the annual inflation rate in the country continues to drop, easing to 6.8% in November from 6.9% in October of 2023. Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi says the cost of living will continue to drop going forward as most farmers embark on their December and January harvest.
Bei ya unga wakati tulikuwa na ukamwe ilipanda sana, sivyo? Lakini sasa, kusema ukweli, bei ya unga imepunguka kidogo. Hiyo ni kama indicator moja. Okay? Tunaangalia indicators tofauti.
Speaking exclusively to Channel 1, Mudavadi has also defended the state borrowing program with the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund, saying the lending terms of the two institutions offer more favorable terms.
Sasa ikiwa tunapata mkopo wa IMF ama World Bank, ni ule unaitwa concessionary loan ama concessionary assistance. Yani unapata na riba ni kama 1%.
Ni kama hata haina riba.
Karibu 1% ama 2%. Alafu unapewa miaka hata kama 30 kulipa.
Giverson Minor, Prime Edition.
Power generators risk hefty fines by the Kenya Electricity Transmission Company Limited for idle complete power lines in a bid to minimize the firm's losses. Energy Cabinet Secretary Davis Chichir says most of the power lines are constructed through commercial loans, and lethargy among off-takers and power generators in using the lines has seen KETRACO incur huge operational costs.
Kenya Electricity Transmission Company Limited and Kenya Power will start synchronizing their projects to reduce underutilization of power infrastructure and reduce operational costs. Energy Cabinet Secretary Davis Chirchir says KETRACO has been struggling to realize returns on investments as the utility firm grapples with idle expensive power lines.
Us in the room, including Kenya Power, to ensure that we synchronize completion of projects. So when Kimuka is ready, all the 6 outfeeders are done. When Mariakan is ready, all the supporting whatever are finished.
Chirchir wants that KETRACO might be forced to start surcharging power off-takers and generators for not utilizing complete power lines due to delayed supporting projects.
And I want us to work with our partners like KPLC, where when we've built a line and they don't deliver their line on time, if the line needs to earn revenue, we should be able to charge the other person for failing to complete the end of the circuit.
Idle lines have been blamed for recent blackouts due to overload of live power lines.
We built a line from Soilo to Meningai. And 6 years down the line after completing the line, the generator from Paul Ngugi here are not ready.
He was speaking during KETRACO's 2023-2027 strategic plan, where players in the energy sector were encouraged to undertake more public-private partnerships to raise working capital to increase more electricity connections and reduce power costs. Benson Rioba reporting for Prime Edition.
The government will create a special purpose committee meant to spearhead the acculization of the Kenya Coast Riviera. Tourism Cabinet Secretary Dr. Alfred Mutua says the national government will provide funding to help upgrade infrastructure development in major tourism attraction sites at the coast.
The government is banking on the Kenyan Riviera concept to deepen tourism at the Kenyan coast. The move is set to boost the country's tourism sector by mapping out key tourist sites and developing new products. Tourism Cabinet Secretary Dr. Alfred Mutua says the government will fund the upgrading of beach areas and the erection of public amenities like malls and search and rescue centers.
Tunataka kufanya infrastructure development. Serikali kuu itatoa pesa, tukishirikiana na magavana, tujenge infrastructure. Tuweke mataa kule Malindi. Waitaliano warudi na pesa zao na Wajerumani waje na pesa zao kule Watamu. Tujenge ile Heritage Cultural Center, tushirikiana na kule upande wa Kwale. Tuangalie hapa Mombasa vile tutajenga barabara na mataa kila mahali. Tuangalie upande wa Lamu shipping area, docking area ya hizi cruise ship, ikifika kuna mahali watalii wanatoka wanafanya kazi. Kwa hiyo nataka kushirikiana tufanye kazi pamoja ndio tuweze kuinua utalii kwa njia ambayo inafaa.
Mutua says to boost security and ensure beaches are clean and friendly, beach operators will be assigned special zones with good security and proper lighting systems to allow businesses to operate at night.
Fanya hivyo, lazima tulete standards za utalii. Tunataka beach zetu ziwe na choo. Tunataka beach zetu ziwe na commercial enterprises, malls za watu kufanya kazi. Tunataka pia kuwa na lifeguards kwa beach zetu. Nataka pia beach boys tuwapangie mahali pao pa kufanya kazi, wasiwasumbue watu wakija.
The tourism CS spoke during a meeting with governors from the coastal region, where he affirmed the government's commitment to enhance collaboration between counties and the national government to boost tourism in the country. Frederick Muki for Prime Edition.
In a world filled with uncertainty, there is one thing we can always count on: the power of compassion and generosity. Every day, families in Kenya face unimaginable challenges and hardships. They struggle to put food on the table, provide shelter for their loved ones, and access basic health care. But today, you have the power to make a difference. By just contributing 1 shilling and 50 cents from your airtime, your generosity can provide access to sanitary pads, nutritious food, clean water, education, and life-saving medical care to those who need it most. To support this cause, please tune in to your favorite radio station under the KBC umbrella for step-by-step instructions on how to subscribe. KBC Helping Hands. Together, we can make a difference and bring hope to those in need.
These are the moments we live for every Friday as we catch up with the world of football.
Manchester City go in front.
With your favorite stars in rivalries like no other that keeps you on the edge of your seat. Learn a few tricks that keep you ahead of the game and spice it all with unforgettable moments on Dunda Dunda. On Saturday, you're in for another treat as we rock your weekend with all sporting disciplines, bringing you insights on what's happening behind the scenes as we share players and athlete stories, preparations, and celebrate their achievements.
Charging to the line. Is it going to be a world record? Yes, it is. She smashed it.
Whatever angle you look at, we've got you covered. KBC Channel 1, your true sports partner.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. Time to get in the know from the sports world. I'm Bernard Okumu. Let's begin with the beach volleyball, where the Kenya beach volleyball teams redeemed themselves on day 2 of the ongoing Confederation of African Volleyball CAVB Zone 5 Olympic qualifiers in Mombasa. Now, Kenya A men's team of Elfas Makuto and Jairus Bet humbled Ugandan duo of Eyo Innocent and Mugambi Shak by 2-1, while Kenyan pair of Brian Meli and Edward Kibet defeated Uganda A team of Geoffrey Onapa and Alan Olokotum by 2 straight sets. The Kenya women's team also registered the convincing victory over Burundi. The teams are eyeing the single Africa beach volleyball ticket to Paris 2024 Olympic Games. Hosts Kenya, Uganda, Rwanda, Burundi and Egypt are participating in the qualifiers. And to tennis now, where Grand Slam title holder Angelo Kutoi will feature in the semi-finals of the ongoing ITF World Tennis Tour after defeating Italy's Mirjana Tona by 2-1 in the quarter-finals at the Nairobi Club. Now in the doubles category, USA's Jessie Ani and Elena Papadakis won both sets to knock out Ukraine's Valeria Strakova and Fanny Ostland to book a spot in the finals.
Kenya's Angela Kutoi maintained a winning spree by making a comeback against Italy's Mirjana Tona. Angela lost the first set 4-6, but gained a feed by winning the second and third sets 6-love and 6-3 respectively. Okutoi will face France Lucy Guyen, who booked her spots into the final 4 by winning 2-1 against Burundi's Sada Naimana. Elsewhere, Germany's Elena Papadakis has also qualified for the semi-finals and will face Sweden's Fanny Ostlands. En route to the semi-finals, Papadakis won 2-1, while Fanny Oslans won both sets.
I feel like it was a really good match. Actually, we played really good, like a lot of close games. It was pretty close. I mean, the score was pretty clear, but it wasn't like that. Really close games, and yeah, we made like the big points, so yeah, pretty good.
In the doubles category, USA's Jesney Ani and Lena Papadakis won both sets to knock out Ukraine's Valeria Stakova and Fanny Oslans to book their spots in the final.
And to soccer now, information communication, the Digital Economy Cabinet Secretary Eliud Owalo says community clubs hold the key to the growth of soccer in the country, but this can only be realized if more resources are channeled into the clubs. Owalo spoke as he donated kits to Premier League side Muhoroni Youth FC in Kisumu County. Achola Simon reports.
The Information, Communication and Digital Economy Cabinet Secretary Eliud Owalo says the private sector must be encouraged to invest more in the community clubs as a part of the wider strategy to grow soccer in the country.
I've said many times that the private sector has got no business running institutional soccer clubs. We need to support community clubs like this one of Moroni, Shabana, Gor Mahia, AFC Leopards. That's the only way we can take Kenyan soccer back to where it was in the 1980s. The future of Kenyan soccer lies with these community-based soccer clubs.
Owalo said football and sports in general remain a lucrative frontier of employment for talented youth across the globe, and the same should be replicated locally.
As a Kenya Kwanza government, under the tutelage and leadership of President William Samoei Ruto, youth empowerment and women empowerment is at the center of our development plan. And one of the integral ways of developing or empowering the youth is sport.
Let us focus on sport. Let us grow talent. Let us have a younger academy also growing talent so that those who retire are replaced. But above all, let us support each other, preach peace, work together, but also try and do what we can as the youth to grow ourselves.
He, however, wants predictable strategies by sports management teams in the country to help attract long-term investors and sponsorship into the beautiful game.
Where's the captain?
Owalo, who patrons Gor Mahia, spoke as he donated playing and training kits to the technical and players unit of Muhoroni Youth in Kisumu County.
Adagala has been pushing me about this team. So I told him, wacha kwanza nipange maneno ya Gor Mahia. Alafu ndio tutashughulikia Muhoroni.
Owalo also donated 500,000 Kenya shillings as a motivational token to the playing unit. Muhoroni Youth remains the only team playing in the country's top league after Chemelil and Kisumu All-Stars were relegated last season. Achola Simon, Prime Edition, Kisumu County.
Well, and on that note is how we end it on sports tonight. But stand by with Cynthia Nyamai. She'll be talking matters domestic tourism, and she'll be engaging tourism peers, John Olontua, in the studio right up next. But from me, that's it. Have a good night.
Grandpa Chris, what's the name of your child?
Guys, food is almost ready. So, Malaika, how is school?
School is just school. Oh. Mom, why did you leave me? Do you hate me?
We'll be reunited.
How could you do that? If there's anyone you should be mad at, that should be.
Huwa unaenda kazini, utanijulisha sawa?
Go take it up with Mama. Nilisema lunch.
Tuzungumzie mambo ya J&J.
Gasheri listened in on my conversation.
Yani, Gasheri is the one who outbid us.
I can see you also in the Christmas mood.
We need to be thankful. Weka your feelings zako aside. I wish every day was Christmas.
We wish you a Merry Christmas.
We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Welcome back. I had promised you at the beginning of the bulletin that today we will be speaking to the PS of Tourism, and I'm going to ask questions that concern you because we want to find out what we should do this holiday and what incentives the ministry has for us this year and even the coming year. And our guest tonight is John Ololtua. He is the PS of Tourism. Thank you so much for joining us. And by the way, there was no memo on how to dress. It's just a coincidence. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much. As already been indicated, my name is John Ololtua.
Yes.
I'm the PS State President for Tourism.
Yes.
I want to take this opportunity to appreciate KBC for giving me this opportunity to be able to come and talk about the tourism sector.
Yes.
And I don't take it for granted. This is a national broadcaster that I would request even before I go ahead.
Yes.
That you can also play a critical role in promoting the image of Kenya and promoting tourism.
Yes, and part of the reason why you're here
and
with
part
us,
of the reason why I'm here with you
tonight. What would you say about 2023 when it comes to the tourism sector? We even saw from the beginning, the first quarter alone, a 31% increase. What has this year looked like?
Thank you very much. First of all, I want to say that the tourism industry is on a steady recovery.
Yes.
You remember during the COVID-19 pandemic, the numbers of tourists, especially international arrivals, were seriously affected. Actually from 1.4 million tourists to about 870,000 by around 2021. But the recovery has continued to happen.
Yes.
Right now, as we speak, just from January 2023 to October, because we have done that analysis, we now stand at 1.5 million, 1,597,854. That is the international tourists alone, or international arrivals. Of course, we have the domestic tourists. If you look at 2021, we had over 3 million domestic tourists. And 2022, we had about 3.6 or thereabouts there.
Yes.
We are yet to do the analysis for 2023 on the domestic tourists. But one thing which is very clear is that the pandemic, the COVID-19 pandemic, taught us a very big lesson. And it actually became a catalyst to make the Kenyans understand, and even the East African region in general, that they can also be able to visit some of the very important attractions that they have in the country. You know, for a long time, sometimes we have always believed that a tourist is somebody who comes either from the region, maybe from the other countries, you know, outside Africa or even Africa. But that even a Kenyan is not a tourist. But I want to make it very clear that every person who visits an interesting site, whether it is a wildlife site, whether it's a cultural site, whether it's a historical site, or even attend events that are of touristic nature, is also a tourist. So that COVID-19 taught us a lesson, and that is what actually led to the growth of domestic tourism. So as we speak today, there is a lot. If you go to the coastal region, for example, I was there yesterday with the Honorable Cabinet Secretary, Honorable Dr. Alfred Mutua, together with the governors of the coastal region, where we are going to chart a way forward on how to transform the tourism sector at the coast. Just as a beginning, because we are starting with the coast, but we are moving to all the other regions. And one of the reports that we are getting is that the hotels are actually reporting or recording high numbers, both international and domestic. So I can see a growth both international and domestic.
So this year is going to be the best yet since COVID-19.
Yes, this year is going to be, we project that probably, as we stand right now, we have done only up to October. We are yet to do November up to December. So we project that it may be about 1.7 million or even 1.8 out to the end of the year. But if we look at what is happening world over, we still think that that is not adequate numbers. Those are not adequate numbers. We have the capability of actually moving to 5 million by 2027. And even more. All that is required is to really put strategies in place to promote international tourism, regional tourism,
yes,
the East African community,
yes,
which we are really working on, and of course the domestic tourism, which is very critical and very, very important.
Yes.
So we believe that it's possible to achieve higher numbers than what we have now.
Yes.
And we of course have a very clear strategy and programs that will eventually make us realize this.
Yes. And what are some of the strategies that are going to be put in place to ensure that eventually we do get to the 5 million mark?
Yes. Thank you very much. There are a number of strategies,
yes,
but I'll just probably mention a few because of I know the time may not allow us to mention all of them.
Yes, yes.
But one of the most critical strategies which we have started with is first of all mapping all the touristic attractions in the country. We do not want to just believe that we can only depend on the beach and the wildlife. Kenya is rich and has a lot of diverse attractions. So what we are doing at the moment, first of all, is to identify and document all these attractions. We have already done phase 1, where we have worked together with the county governors, and we have identified the specific attractions in the 8 circuits of touristic circuits in the country. So we have listed down all of them, and that is step 1, just to list down all of them, what we have already, and what is there and probably has not been projected, has not been promoted, has not been communicated about. So that's number 1. Number 2 is, after mapping and identifying these touristic attractions, we are also looking at the infrastructure. How do we develop to ensure that whatever is required to make that attraction accessible is done? For example, where we require roads, we will work with the Ministry of Transport to ensure that the roads are there. Where we require airstrips, for example, to be either refurbished or to be improved, or even new ones to be opened, we will also be able to work with the relevant ministry to be able to ensure that that is done, so that it makes it easy. Air access, for example, is very important in tourism. Where, for example, maybe we require a heritage center.
Yes.
Like yesterday, some of the governors were indicating that they would like to see heritage centers in their counties, and where we have such an arrangement, then we partner with the county government so that the county government is able to put some funding. We also put as a national government, and we are able to put up, for example, if it is museums, if it is cultural centers, or even if it is facilities. One of the critical things that the Cabinet Secretary really has identified is the improvement of sanitation facilities in our national parks, our game reserves, and any other areas that are visited by tourists, including our beaches along the coast. And therefore, I said that the second thing is infrastructure, including even working together with the Kenya Airports Authority, working with all the other relevant stakeholders to ensure that any infrastructure that needs to be improved needs to be improved. That is number 2. Number 3, we have also want to also intensify research. Currently, we have the Tourism Research Institute is carrying out a research on impact of climate change on tourism. And we want to do a lot of research on what are some of the critical areas that we need to look at to make tourism sustainable, to make it competitive. You know, because you have to look at why is it that some countries are receiving 10 million tourists, why are they receiving much more than us? So we must also invest in research so that we are able to come up with what needs to be done, and we ensure that it is done. But the critical component above everything else is marketing. Because you must market what you have. And that's why we have started by documenting what we have. It's already documented, but we're just adding on to what is already there. So that is clear. Let me give you a practical example. Turkana County, for example, is a very important. It has a gold, something very special. The origin of humankind, the cradle of humankind, which is really so special to us and something that can really be projected. We have the Chalbi Desert in Marsabit, for example, in those areas, which is, Dubai is really, getting so many tourists because of the desert, the desert sports and other activities that happen. So we have a lot of important things that we have not marketed. So what we are trying to do now, through the Kenya Tourism Board, we are trying to ensure that we do digital marketing, we do We also do social media campaigns, and we also want to reach out to the the influencers.
Yes.
Right? We have, of course, the comedians, we have the artists, those who sing, we have the athletes who move across the world doing their competitions.
Yes.
And we think that if we do marketing, we also have our foreign missions abroad. Right? We have every country that has a foreign mission is a very good opportunity that we can be able to develop materials or whatever that needs to be used to market the country.
Yes.
But we also have our Kenyan diaspora. Just recently we had the diaspora conference at KICC, which actually whose main aim was to encourage the Kenyan people all over the world to be able to come and invest in Kenya. You know, not just in the hospitality industry, but across board.
Yes.
And also, which was also meant to encourage them to visit Kenya also.
Yes.
You know, and bring their friends to come as tourists in Kenya, but above all also to market the country abroad. So we are also targeting in this particular campaign of marketing. We are targeting to use also the Kenyan people that are actually abroad, so that they can be able to market the country.
And so does it mean that when it comes to marketing, there's going to be also an increase of the marketing budget?
Yes, we are currently ensuring that we give more support to Kenya Tourism Board.
Yes.
In the Ministry of Tourism and Wildlife, we have some of our state agencies that collect or that actually receive some money as A. And this is what we are also trying, apart from what the National Treasury allocates, we will also look at those particular funds and be able to allocate more money to Kenya Tourism Board to be able to do the marketing, and also allocate to those institutions that are carrying out research.
Yes.
But we also want to target the cost. Actually, we met with the governors yesterday, and one of the critical components that we looked at is the beach.
Yes.
We wanted to see under what we call the bottom-up transformation agenda, to be able to target these beach operators, first of all, map them in liaison with the county government, map all of them, encourage them to form their circles so that they can also probably benefit from the Hustler Fund and other funds. But above all, so that it becomes very organized.
Yes.
And they can be able now to, you know, to ensure that the tourists are not harassed in any way, but they are also getting a livelihood. So we have already put a program that by the third week of January, we'll be having another meeting. We have the levels of, we have the summit, which has the cabinet secretary and the governors.
Yes.
Then we'll have the CCs and the PSS. Then we'll have, of course, the chief officers and the others down there, who will be meeting to look at anything that we have decided that we are going to do, so that we make sure that we do. But above all, we are also looking at the issues of, in the tourism sector, we have the Tourism Protection Service, which actually is the tourism police unit. So we're also looking at issues of security to ensure that the tourists are actually treated very well, and that they feel safe, and that any issues that emerge are addressed on time.
Yes.
So those are just some of the measures, because I've not mentioned a number of them. We're also working together with the Immigration Department to ensure that any issues that touch on immigration, we're indeed very happy about the visa-free regime, which is going to be implemented as from next year. But we are working very closely with immigration to see if, for example, we have people who want to come and do wedding tourism in Kenya. What can we do to make it better?
Okay.
If there are any issues that we need to address, we address as one government, and we are able to complement each other in ensuring that any bottleneck that comes across is addressed.
Yes, I like that you mentioned wedding tourism, and it tells me that we are looking at a variety of opportunities in Kenya. You mentioned about domestic tourism and the lessons learned during COVID-19. What incentives is the government putting in place to encourage Kenyans to tour the country? The holidays are here with us, and even next year.
Well, that's quite a very, very important question. First of all, we are promoting the Tempea Kenya campaign. That's one of the incentives that has been there. But we now want to put even more effort to, first of all, to make the Kenyans understand, because we are targeting the domestic tourists. We want to really make the Kenyans understand, to be proud of their country, and that's why we say Tempea Kenya. go and see what is in Kenya. So first of all, we are doing that campaign just to encourage them and to make sure that they do that. We are also looking at how we can be able to, because if you look at the bottom-up transformation agenda, one of the key things is to look at the independent traveler and the youths who want to travel to our national parks, want to other, and so on, and maybe they cannot be able to afford. We are working very closely with the tourism stakeholders. We have the Kenya Tourism Federation, which is an umbrella body that brings on board all the stakeholders. We have the county governments.
Yes.
We are working very closely with them to see how, for example, the travel companies can provide cheaper transport for those who wish to go. How we can have, in partnership with the county governments, we can encourage the private sector to build cheaper hotels, not very far away from the national parks, just in the community conservancies and community land, to make it easy for these people to be able to visit. We're also working very closely with the hotels.
Yes.
And I think this one we are not yet done very far, but we are working with the hotels to see. Normally the rates are differentiated, the rates of the hotel rates, the accommodation for international and domestic.
Yes.
But we want to do, from next year, we want to do more stakeholder meetings with the hotel industry and all these other people to see how can we make this Kenyan feel very comfortable.
Yes.
How can we make it slightly affordable for them to be able to, to visit this this place that they require.
Yes.
And so we are really doing that kind of encouragement as a way of incentive to for them to be able to visit our parks, and also go and spend in our hotels.
Yes.
We're also trying to indicate that going for a holiday is not expensive. It's just about planning.
Yes.
Some of the tourists who come to the country stay for 1 year or even a longer time for them to be able to travel. So we're trying to do a lot of campaigns to let the Kenyans understand that let's be proud of our country, let's know our land, let's go and see.
Yes.
Let's go to Turkana, see the cradle of humankind.
For the Christmas holidays. my director tells me that we are running out of time, but I really do want to thank you for just giving us some of the incentives and the places that we can tour during this holiday as Kenyans, and the plans that are underway to ensure that eventually by 2027 we reach the 5 million mark. Well, that rounds up news for tonight. I want to say a very special thank you to the Tourism PS, John Ololtua, who has joined us today. And from me and the rest of the team, I do want to wish you a very good night and a Merry Christmas, because this is the last time you are seeing me this week.
And from my end, I also like to wish all Kenyans a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year full of God's blessings.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Unangoja nini? Namna ya kucheza Lucky Game sasa imerahisishwa. Dial *570# na 31st of December magari haya mawili na mtangaza